Alright guys, so today we're going to check out SoundPEATS' newest flagship pair of true wireless earbuds. And in my opinion, I think the SoundPEATS Air 5 Pro, which is the pair we're checking out today, is a direct competitor to Apple's AirPod Pros. Not only because it looks like them, but it also has some very similar features, but also some features that I wish the AirPod Pros actually have. So we'll talk about all of those things, but the first thing I really want to start with here is the price. The AirPod Pros, I believe right now come in at either $150 or $180. I have seen them obviously well above $200, but the SoundPEATS Air 5 Pros only come in at $79. And right now, because they were just released and they have a coupon code and everything that you can use, which I'll have in the description, you can pick them up for only $55. So $55 in comparison to a pair that's 3 to 4 times that price already makes these pretty appealing. And what makes them even more appealing is when you talk about some of the features and some of the things that they have to offer, and you see that SoundPEATS really didn't hold back when it came to this pair. Well, they kind of did. They do have 2 features that are lacking here that I wish that they had. The case is not a Qi wireless charging case, and there are no smart sensors on the earbuds themselves. So it doesn't do the auto pause or auto play when you take them out or put them back in. So outside of those 2 things, these actually have a lot to offer. But before we get into all that, I do want to start with the look and the design. The look of the case, it's very small. I do not like the matte black finish that these have because it just shows fingerprints way too easily. You pick them up, you're automatically going to see your fingerprints all over these things. The earbuds themselves though, I do like the look of these, even though I don't necessarily always like stem style design earbuds. It's still pretty subtle, but at least they designed the earbuds where they don't show fingerprints near like the case does. The earbuds themselves do use touch controls. Now out of the box, they do not give you control over everything, but luckily you can go within their app, switch some things around and actually get them to control everything. So that is definitely a huge bonus. But let's go ahead and jump into some of the features that these have. And in my opinion, this is what already right off the bat separates the AirPod Pros and the SoundPEATS Air 5 Pro. They do have Bluetooth 5.4. They do support multi-point connection, so you can connect to more than one device at a time. They also have Snapdragon sound, so if you have a device that is compatible with Snapdragon sound, you're able to take advantage of high-end Bluetooth codecs. And speaking of high-end Bluetooth codecs, it is high-res wireless certified because it has LDAC playback. It also has aptX lossless. It also has LE audio or low energy audio, and it supports LC3. So that is some pretty high-end Bluetooth codecs, especially for a pair that right now you can get for $55. And again, even at the retail price of $79, you don't really find earbuds that can support all of these higher end codecs. Now going back to talking about the app, like I said, you can switch around some controls, but I highly recommend downloading the app because you can also keep your earbuds updated this way. There are some EQ options in here which you can switch around. I will say though, I really was very impressed with the way that these were tuned out of the box. So this is one of those that I don't right off the bat say you need to go in and switch around EQ settings. Now there is a personalized EQ where you can go through the hearing test and have it just kind of set up its own EQ based off what it thinks you like listening to. There is a low latency mode, so if you're going to use them for different types of media, it's nice to be able to switch it into this mode so you don't have to worry about lag with gaming or movies or TV shows or anything like that. There is also a Find My Earbuds feature, which is really nice to have, especially if you're somebody that doesn't always keep up with where your earbuds are. And also within the app, you can switch between the different noise canceling modes. Now this I am a huge fan of. I do like the fact that there are different noise canceling modes you can switch between, but I also like that it has the adaptive noise canceling. So it will just switch depending on what setting it thinks you're in, or at least the noise going on around you. And the huge thing here is the noise canceling is very effective on this pair. In fact, they say that this is SoundPEATS' best noise canceling that they have had on any of their products. That's not necessarily like a huge statement because SoundPEATS hasn't had the best noise canceling in their products, but this is the first time that I feel like it goes well beyond just blocking out like lower tones. So if you're traveling, it does a really good job of blocking out engine noises, things like that. But when it comes to people talking, this is the first pair from SoundPEATS that I feel actually blocks out people talking. It blocks out the higher tones. It blocks out, like, if you have a TV going on, it really does kind of isolate you from everything else. So this just punches well above its weight when it comes to noise canceling. And same thing with the ambient mode. It does a really good job of channeling in your surroundings. I felt like things sounded pretty natural for the most part, and it's really easy to carry on a conversation and never feel like you actually have to take the earbuds out of your ears. Now, if you are going to use these outdoors, they do come in with an IPX5 rating. So that's kind of a step above most of the normal ones that come in at IPX4, but it's still really only good against rain and splashes and sweat and things like that. But this is still not one of those pairs that you would want to actually drop into water. So be a little careful if you're in those type of environments. Now, as far as what they've included in the box, you do get 3 sets of silicone ear tips. It does come with the USB-C cable, which again, you are going to need to use this to charge these since there's no wireless charging. And speaking of the charging, the battery life is actually pretty good. It's not great, but it is definitely comparable to the AirPod Pros. You can get about 7.5 hours on the earbuds on a single charge. With the charging case, you're going to get about 37 hours total. Now, this is with the noise canceling off. This is also with the LDAC off. If you have noise canceling on, or if you have your LDAC on, the battery life is definitely going to drop quite a bit. But if you do happen to pick these up and they are dead, these also support fast charging. So a 10-minute charge on these will get you about 2 hours of use. I've said this before, and I'm always going to say this. I find this feature to always come in handy because I don't always make sure that my earbuds are charged. Now, if you are going to use these for taking phone calls, they are using 6 microphones total, and this pair does a very good job of just focusing in on your voice and blocking out like any of the sounds around you. But you guys can be a judge by listening to a test here. So I am out here just giving you a mic test of the Air 5 Pros. It's not really a noisy or windy day. So really this is just to give you an idea of what it would sound like if you were to take a call in public. So now let's talk about the sound. Now, the first thing about the sound is these are using 10mm dynamic drivers. And this pair is one of the loudest pairs of true wireless earbuds that I've tested. And it is a very dynamic pair. It is really going for that consumer tuning. It's not trying to dull out the lows. It's not trying to hold back the highs. It's definitely not one of those that's going to have that flatter EQ curve to it. This is pumped up in the low end. This is pumped up in the highs. I would say it does also a really good job with the sub bass. It kind of has that like slight rumble to it to kind of mimic like a subwoofer. It's not trying to like make it very, very tight or fast. But I never had an issue where the bass just kind of rolled over anything else. And if you want to, the EQ settings do have the option to be able to dial that back if you think the low end is a little too much. But I'm a bass head, so I was really happy with the way that these were tuned. But the other huge plus is I was a big fan of the way that the treble was tuned as well, because what they're trying to do is give you a lot of low end, but also spike up the treble to a point where it's right there at being harsh. And to me, that kind of balances out really well if you have that pretty aggressive low end. So it's bright, it's also powerful. The mids on these, I feel like they just kind of bumped up slightly. It never felt like it was too far forward, but they bumped it up just enough so that if you're listening to genres where maybe there's a lot going on, you never kind of feel like the vocalists fall back in the mix or kind of get behind the instruments. So when it comes to male or female vocalists, acoustic instruments, anything like that, it always had a really nice presence, and it just felt like it was just a little bit in front of everything else. And then when it comes to the sound stage and the sound imaging, this is not a very wide open sounding earbud, and this kind of goes back to the fact that it's tuned as dynamic as it is. So I will say that it kind of leaves me feeling like I'm in a medium to maybe large size room, but it at least does a really good job of being able to tell where different sounds are coming from. And there's no spatial audio to be able to turn on these to kind of open it up a little bit more. I'm not disappointed in that because, again, I'm not a huge fan of spatial audio anyways. So my overall opinion on these is there's just a lot of value here. If you don't need Qi wireless charging and you don't need smart sensors, I do not see where these lack in any other area. And again, if you're going to compare it to the AirPod Pros, the value just, it becomes really strong. I mean, you're getting really good noise canceling. You're getting comparable battery life to the AirPod Pros, but getting the Snapdragon sound compatibility, the LDAC, and just the sound that you're able to get out of these, especially considering that you can just turn these up and have them really loud. So if you're somebody that likes to listen loud, or if you're listening in a gym and you just want to tune everything out, when you mix that with the noise canceling that these have, it's hard to hear anything around you at all. So it's very effective at this. But the sound quality is what makes these fantastic, especially if you're just looking for a fun pair of earbuds to listen to. As long as you're not looking for that flatter response, this pair definitely checks all the right boxes. And again, it makes it another pair that even at its retail price of $79, I think is a great value. But the fact that right now they're $55, again, with the code and all of that that's in the description, it makes this a very easy pair to recommend. But guys, that's my video on the brand new SoundPEATS Air 5 Pro. Thank you so much for checking out this video. Thank you so much for checking out all the other videos. And as always, make sure to stay tuned for more.